you guys? Welcome back to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Listen, today we're going to be talking about Michelle Obama, but not as a symbol of female virtue and class, but as a symbol of rebellion and representative of the rot of female behavior, modern female behavior, that is. So we saw something that was incredibly strange just a few weeks ago. Many of us observed that during Jimmy Carter's funeral, when he was being laid to rest, we had the chance to view and see all of the other former presidents and their wives all together paying their respects to former President Jimmy Carter. Now we saw Bill and Hillary, right? We saw W and Laura. We saw Mike Pence and his wife. We saw Joe Biden, even in his diminished capacity. We saw Joe Biden and Jill Biden, and we saw Donald Trump and Melania. But I noticed something strange, and I'm not the only one. We witnessed and saw the melanin messiah, Barack Obama. We saw him, but the question so many people had was, where was Big Mike? Michelle, right? Michelle was nowhere to be found. And as it turns out, she wasn't sick. She wasn't caring for a sick child or an aging parent. She was just MIA. How strange is that? How strange is it that she just was nowhere to be seen? Well, Michelle Obama recently made two very important and optically negative decisions, in my opinion. Michelle, she decided to skip both the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter, and as a bonus, she skipped out on Donald Trump's inauguration. Now, I'm not surprised that Michelle would skip these events. Big Mike, I'm sorry. Michelle is representative of what I call an orangutan. Now, orangutans, by definition, those are female imbeciles who cannot manage their misery. And in today's culture, we see a lot of this kind of behavior. To be clear, an orangutan is a behavioral description. It is not dermal or physical. Orangutans, because they can't manage their misery and they are unable to restrain or control themselves, they show out, some more than others, but they all characteristically will do or say things that are unbecoming to embarrass themselves or the people that they love. Now, this kind of behavior, it says a lot about the state of modern female behavior, especially within Black America. And I get it. Y'all don't like when I make these distinctions. You don't have to like it. That is fine. But what you cannot do, you cannot act like what I'm saying is not true. You cannot do that. It is one thing for Barack Obama to choose not to attend either of these events. It would be his prerogative to make such a decision. And we already know there have been strained relationships between several of the former presidents. Donald Trump don't really fool with none of them like that. Trump and Obama, despite having a very adversarial relationship publicly, what we witnessed them being really chummy and really just being cordial and just getting along. And I thought it was a wonderful display of leadership. Now, despite their recent chummy behavior at Carter's funeral, it's one thing for Barack being able to put his feelings aside for the sake of the event. It's another thing entirely for Michelle, his former first lady, to send her husband alone to an event of such national significance. I'm sorry, I have a problem with that. Why do I have a problem with it? Well, here's my perspective. Michelle's willful defiance, it was on full display for the world to see. Why? Traditionally. Yes, I know some people want to buck the system, but traditionally, former first ladies attend state events as a sign of national unity and respect. It's kind of just part of the job. Just because your husband is no longer in office does not mean that you don't get to still play the role. You got to play the role. Now, I get it. You may not like Trump, but the truth is none of that matters. You're supposed to be by your husband's side. You are the former first lady. And even if you weren't, good wives that actually love their husbands and who publicly and privately respect their husbands, they do what they have to do for the sake of duty. That's what a good wife does. This looks bad. It looks really, really bad, but I am not surprised. Not surprised at all in the least bit. Michelle's absence. For many, they're like, well, it's a political statement. And I'm like, it's not just a political statement. But this act of defiance appears to me, I am calling it a declaration of rebellion, refusing to participate in the fundamental tradition that defines American leadership, demonstrates that you don't truly respect the American people and utterly you don't respect your husband. This was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, and it demonstrates, based on the optics, that the stereotype of disloyalty and utter selfishness that clouds the reputation of Black women, it proves it to be true. And we got to take an L for this. We have to take an L for this because this is the last type of example that young Black girls need, especially during a time when young girls are being raised to believe that they don't need a man and that they could do bad all by themselves, and there's no value at all in one flesh unions known as a marriage. This is what so many young girls are believing. And then for you to do this, for you to let your man walk into the Capitol Rotunda all alone, not Barack Obama, accompanied by his wife, former First Lady, Michelle Obama. No. We got Barack Obama just out there all alone. How trifling and selfish can you be? I don't even like Barack like that. Like Barack Obama, but he is still the president or former president of the United States. And if he was in attendance and you are still married, your behind was supposed to be where your man is. Plain and simple. That's just how it's supposed to go. Now, a lot of people are trying to make this saying, well, maybe this is a Republican versus Democrat thing, and she's a Democrat, and she's not happy, perhaps the direction of the country is going. It doesn't matter. Her husband was there. See, remember, it's about respect for the institution of the presidency, but not just respect for the nation as a whole. It's respect for your husband. Your husband chose to suck it up, grin and bear it, and go, and you couldn't suck it up for 45 minutes. You couldn't suck it up for 45 minutes and smile and then wipe it off and go back and live your life and do what it is that you do, right? You couldn't do that. Why? I'm going to go on a wild guess to say it's because Michelle was just doing her that day. She was doing her. This is a representation of the moral rot that plagues the Black community. And this is why I keep saying that we cannot look to these celebrities. We cannot look to these politicians. You cannot idolize them and put them up on this pedestal to set some sort of moral compass for how you are to live your life, because not even the first Black first lady of these here United States can pull it together and act right when it truly matters. What happened to all of the poise and the class that everyone has been elevating this couple to? What happened to all of that when it truly mattered most? I thought when they go low, we go high. Well, you ain't looking high right now. And this is the part that makes it look really bad. You know it's bad when even Kamala could grin and bear it and try to show some semblance of class. I mean, we're talking about a woman that just paraded a bunch of hoes as like the headliner to one of her major important rallies, and even she could pull it all together and show up and be there in her vice presidential capacity and just get through the event. This shows that for all of the strong Black women, all of that rhetoric about the strong Black woman, all of it just shows that for all of the strong Black woman rhetoric that the left is always preaching about, it demonstrates that Michelle is just as weak and as selfish as they come. Just weak and selfish. What happened to the virtue? She's lacking virtue befitting of a first lady. And at the end of the day, just like every other orangutan out here, she will choose herself over anything and everything else because selfishness is the order of the day and nobody cares about duty, honor, or respect anymore. It is literally a culture of individualism. And this is why the culture is going to hell in a handbasket. Now, the other point, there are a few points that I wanted to make, but one of the main points that I wanted to make concerning this story is that this is the type of toxic and destructive behavior. And it's reflective of what I like to call the I do what I want to do mentality. We saw this in a very profound way during the Kamala Harris campaign, where Michelle made a speech directly encouraging women to vote however they wanted, even if it caused division in their home, because this is personal, right? She openly encouraged women to forget about what your husband says. Don't listen to him. Don't hearken to his leadership. You do you, boo, because we got to kill more babies. And this is a decision that no man needs to be involved in. She explicitly told women, don't concern yourself with your husband's opinions on the election or the direction of the country. Don't elicit or solicit his thoughts or his wisdom on this. You do what you want, ladies. Do what thou wilt. That's what we heard. This message on the campaign trail, when I first heard it, I think I may have done a video on it, but it was not one of unity or wisdom or anything that promoted strong, healthy families, which I've said before, create healthy societies. The ideology that she was speaking or exerting that day on the campaign trail during the Kamala Harris campaign was one of reckless individualism. Reckless individualism, which is fundamentally, as we speak, destroying Black households all over this country. When the Bible describes what an well-ordered home and family structure looks like, you notice that there's always, each party has these duties. You see a lot of unity because it's representative of the union that Christ has with his bride. And then you also see submission. You see submission as this beautiful display of Christ loving his church and giving himself up for her. And then you see the submission of the wife lovingly submitting to her husband. as unto the Lord. You see that. And so within the family, there's this beautiful display of duty and unity. But Michelle, she was promoting a spirit of division, right? She's promoting a spirit of division, individualism, and selfishness. And sadly, many women actually listen to her, and because they look up to her and they follow in her footsteps, they'll do the same thing, tear up and cause division in their own homes, tearing it down with their own hands by their own actions. By their own actions, they're just creating wreckage and chaos where none existed before. It's so sad to watch, but this is simply where we are as a country. We now have a crisis in Black American households, but sadly, y'all, this didn't just happen overnight. Didn't happen overnight. This is the I do what I want attitude that is deeply infected many Black American households, starting with the women, and this is more the rule than the exception. You see, there's this lack of respect for male leadership. Then you have the absence of submission. Lord, please don't even say the word submission. That's like a dirty word. And then you have the prioritization of personal ambition over family stability and loyalty and duty. All of the accumulation of all of that has led to a crisis. And I've said it previously, we don't have generational wealth because women somehow don't realize that you can't have generational wealth if you don't have family continuity. If there is no family continuity, all you have is a bunch of fractured and broken families all over the place. And then the next generation, they have to start from ground zero, oftentimes, because they're repeating in the same footsteps as their parents because they never learned about the duty of how to keep a family together. They've never seen it. All of they see is, oh, when I'm not happy, I go do me. They've been taught to do you. That's what they've been taught because they saw their mama do her. She didn't give a darn about how it would impact the kids. She was only concerned with going to get happy instead of trying to figure out, or at least try to establish, let me try to establish fulfillment in other ways or in other things, but not at the expense of the family. So as a result, we see high divorce rates. We see lots of broken families, fatherless homes, and all of this is a direct result of this modern cultural rot exhibited by the behavior of women like Michelle Obama. Y'all, Michelle as a public figure, I know a lot of people are like, she didn't ask for this. That's such a huge weight and responsibility for her to carry on her shoulders. But heck, you the former first lady. You should be setting an example of duty and cooperation, not exhibiting rebellion. Not rebellion. So what can we learn? What can we learn from this entire situation? Right? Michelle's absence from these events is not even political for me. Y'all know I can't stand liberals, but this ain't politics for me. For me, it's about a deeper cultural shift where women feel completely justified in defying the tried and true roles that have been proven to build strong families and communities. They feel that they don't owe the culture any sort of duty. Why? Because they do what they want, and it's the individualism. It's all about me. This is where the moral rot in our community, this is where it comes from. Yes, I am laying a lot of the moral rot within the Black community at the feet of Black women. And you can come and fight me in the comments with your sick and miserable behind all you want to. I don't care. I don't care because you're always talking about, and you always want to be considered. How can you be considered the backbone of the family when at the end of the day, every decision that you make gives no thought or consideration or regard to the needs of the family, but rather All you do, you prioritize what it is that what you want, regardless of how it affects the family. But yet you want to walk around saying we the glue to hold it all together. We the backbone. No, you're not. How are you the backbone holding the family together and we ain't got no families? Where are the marriages? Where are the multiple generations of marriages that reflect that you are the backbone of the family? What are you holding up? A backbone maintains structure, right? Keeps the whole body aligned. And without a backbone, you fall apart. Well, all we have is wreckage and everything is already broken and falling apart. How you the backbone? I know you like to claim it and say it, but how are you overwhelmingly the backbone? Y'all, we have to have this conversation. And we must recognize and reject this rebellious spirit, because it only leads to more brokenness and more chaos. That's ultimately where it leads. And so here on this channel, because it's the Standard of Truth podcast, it is a Christian channel, I want to talk a little bit about biblical femininity. Why? Because what the world wretches are going to wretch and the world is going to do what the world is going to do. But biblical femininity, we embrace duty. We embrace duty, honor, and respect for family structure. We recognize that it's not all about us. It's not all about us. There's a duty that you are to fulfill because it's the right thing to do. And it is irrespective of how you feel, because your feelings change from day to day. Trust me, I know. Listen, right now, I'm perimenopausal and I don't feel but there is a duty and an honor and a respect for the family structure that I got to maintain. And you know what's an indictment? If Hillary Clinton, who isn't even a Christian, even she managed to understand this fundamental fact, if she can get that, why can't we? Why can't we? A wife standing by her husband, whether it's at an inauguration or a funeral, it is a sign of strength, not weakness, presenting a united front regardless of what's going on. Hillary is no less of a strong white woman standing behind and beside Bill and his freak nasty cheating behind, but she does it. And truth be told, Hillary can hold her own and everybody knows it. But at the end of the day, you got to respect the fact even Hillary rose to the occasion, because even as wretched and trifling as she is, even she understands the assignment. And that's an indictment on Christian women everywhere, and an indictment to all the strong Black women who claim to be the backbones of their family. Where? I don't see it. The contrast between Michelle's behavior and the role of other former first ladies who have attended major state events, regardless of their politics, regardless of how they feel about the office or who's being inaugurated in the office, it is telling. It's proving what I've been saying about her this whole time. She's an orangutan. Like, I knew Michelle was an orangutan when she publicly, in the presence of other women and the watching world, when she sat in an interview and said that for 10 years, she couldn't stand Barack Obama and did not like him. I was just like, wow, how disrespectful do you have to be?
People think I'm being catty by saying this. It's like there were 10 years when I couldn't stand my husband.
Michelle Obama is getting candid about love and marriage. The former First Lady doesn't hold back during a December panel with Revolt TV. When talking about her relationship with her husband of 30 years, Michelle reveals things with Barack weren't always picture perfect, especially for about a decade.
And people think I'm being catty by saying this. It's like there were 10 years when I couldn't stand my husband.
You know? Do say that. You say
10 long years. And guess when it happened? when those kids were little, right?
Mrs. Obama opens up about the early days before the White House when she and the former president were trying to balance family and their careers, reflecting that their responsibilities weren't always split 50-50.
And for 10 years, while we're trying to build our careers and, worrying about school and who's doing what and what, I was like, this isn't even.
It proves that she's in a ratchetang. I've been saying it for a while that when a woman is unable to manage her misery, she will be the chaos and the fuel to the fire. And even if everything around her is burning up and burning down, she still does not care. She still does not care. There's no loyalty, there is no duty, and there is no honor anymore because of this individualistic, I'ma do what I want to do and it's all about me mentality. And it is so destructive and it is so toxic, but this is where we are. So in conclusion, the rebellion that we see in Michelle Obama's actions, all it is it reflects the deeper issue plaguing modern women today, especially Black women, who they've been sold a lie and told that individualism and defiance, basically rebellion, that equals empowerment. The idea that you can, stand outside of everything that is considered normal and healthy and defy and do what you want. That is considered empowerment. But I'm here to tell you that is not strength. That is not empowerment. That is division. That is division and selfishness and chaos, and it's tearing families apart. But as believers, I am hoping I can encourage you that it's important for us, the people of God, to return to these biblical principles that emphasize order and unity and respect within the marriage and society, because we're representations of God's kingdom, and we're supposed to be a light shining on a hill as an example to the watching world as to this is how it is supposed to be done. So if you don't walk away with anything else from this, is do not go and do likewise. Do not idolize these people, and do not look to them for any semblance of advice or as an example of how you must be, because what they got going on, that is not it. Down from the ideology down to their public behavior. This is not something that you should mimic or model. But if you found this discussion insightful, be sure to do me a favor. Be sure to like. I want you to like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. We are on our way to 100,000 subscribers, and I'll be able to get there with your help. So thank you so much. If you think that, this was out of order and just reflective of the moral rot that we see in our culture, leave me a comment below. Or if you're like, April, I think you're being a little harsh. Like, we don't really know the reason why she wasn't there, and we should just gloss over the fact that she let her husband go by himself and couldn't suck it up for the sake of just, whatever your thoughts are. I want you to leave me a comment down in the box below. But until next time, you guys, grace and peace.